A mistake like you doesn't even deserve our last name. Another man's mistake. That's what you are. My sister Lauren said it into the birthday microphone right as my family gathered around the cake. Then she waved a DNA test kit at me like it was a party favor. 30 minutes later, when one notification lit up my phone, Lauren's smile cracked so fast she almost dropped the kit in front of everyone. As always, before we dive into a story with an ending that's going to feel really satisfying for you, let's do a quick roll call. Type present and the city you're watching from in the comments. For everyone who has liked and subscribed, I pray that God makes your problems easier, widens your provision, and keeps your body healthy. Thank you, my friends. Now listen carefully to my story. Before I start, I want you to understand the vibe. Imagine you're at your own birthday dinner, surrounded by family, trying to act grateful, while a quiet war is happening under the table. That was my life for years, smiles on the outside, knives in the details. And the thing is, I wasn't naive. I was the smart one. The one who noticed patterns, kept receipts, asked questions. I just didn't expect the first attack to come with candles. My name is Claire Whitmore. I'm 29, and yes, people always assume I'm well off because of the last name. My father, Richard Whitmore, built a logistics company from nothing and turned it into something that quietly runs behind other people's shiny brands. He's not a celebrity. He's the type of man who wins by staying invisible. My mother died when I was 11. That fact alone makes people softer when they first meet me. But in my family, it didn't make anyone softer at all. It made me easier to move around. After Mom passed, my dad remarried within 2 years. Elaine was polished, careful, and always smelled like expensive hand cream. She didn't slap me or scream at me. She did something worse. She made everything feel like it was my fault without ever raising her voice. Elaine came with a daughter, Lauren, who was 2 years older than me, loud in a way that made adults laugh, and sharp in a way that made me shrink. If I tried to speak, Lauren spoke over me. If I tried to be funny, she corrected me. If I got praise, she turned it into a joke. "You're so lucky you have Claire," people would tell my dad. "She's so calm, so capable." Lauren would smile sweetly and say, "She has to be." Some of us were actually wanted. Everyone would laugh like it was nothing. And my dad would rub the bridge of his nose like he was tired and say, "Not tonight." Not tonight became the theme of my life. When I got older, I learned to survive the Whitmore house by becoming useful. I got straight A's. I learned how to read contracts before I could legally sign one. I worked summer internships at my dad's company, not because I wanted to inherit it, but because in our house, being helpful was the closest thing to being safe. At 24, I moved out. I got my own apartment across town, small but peaceful. I told myself I didn't need their approval. I told myself distance would make the family dynamic fade. But money and legacy do strange things to people. No matter how far I moved, they always found a way to pull me back. Family dinners, holiday photos, charity galas, board meetings where I didn't even have a seat yet but somehow still needed to show support. Then last year, my father had a mild stroke. He recovered physically, but something shifted after that. He became quieter, more cautious, like he finally accepted that time doesn't negotiate. And suddenly, my presence mattered again. Elaine started calling me more. Not to ask how I was, Elaine didn't do that, but to check in about Dad's schedule, his medication, his stress level. Lauren started appearing in the same places as me again, like we were magnets forced onto the same table. She'd show up at the office and lean against my doorframe with that fake friendly smile. "Claire," she'd say, dragging out my name, "you've been so active lately. It's cute." Cute. Like I was a child playing grown-up in the world they owned. One afternoon, as I was leaving Dad's office, I heard Elaine say something to the family attorney, Mr. Bennett, a sentence that made my ears sharpen. "Richard needs to finalize the family structure." Elaine said, careful and light. "We can't leave questions." Questions. I pretended I didn't hear, but my body reacted like I'd touched a hot stove. My hands went cold, my throat went tight, and a part of me that I'd tried to bury for years woke up fully alert. Because there was always one question in the Whitmore house that never died. The rumor. The thing Lauren had been hinting at since we were teenagers, whenever she wanted to humiliate me in a way that couldn't be punished. That I wasn't my father's real daughter. That my mother had cheated. That I was another man's mistake that Richard was forced to raise out of shame. It was sick, and it made no sense. My dad adored my mom. Everyone knew that. But rumors don't need logic. They only need repetition. And Lauren repeated it like it was a family tradition. So when my birthday came around in early spring, I considered skipping the family dinner. I almost did. I had an excuse ready. Work, stress, a migraine, anything. But my father called me himself. "Claire," he said, and his voice sounded older than I was ready to hear. "Come home for dinner. Just this once. I want everyone together." "Are you okay?" I asked. "I'm fine," he said, and then, like he was swallowing something hard, "I want to look at you and remember I did one thing right." My chest tightened. Whatever war was happening behind the scenes, I could handle it. But I couldn't ignore that kind of sentence. So, I went. They hosted it at the Whitmore house, the big one in the suburbs that I still sometimes called home, even though it never really felt like it. The dining room was staged like a magazine photo. Linen napkins. Crystal glasses. Elaine's white orchids arranged like a warning. Lauren was already there, wearing a fitted red dress like she wanted to be seen first and remembered last. "Birthday girl," she chirped when I walked in, arms open like a performer. Then she leaned close enough that only I could hear and whispered, "Try not to cry tonight. Dad hates that." I smiled back, calm and controlled. "Try not to make it about you. I know that's hard." Her eyes flashed, just for a second. Then she laughed like I'd said something adorable. Dad hugged me longer than usual. He looked tired but present. Elaine kissed my cheek and said, "We're so glad you came," in that voice that could mean love or a threat depending on who was listening. Dinner started almost normal. Almost. The first odd vibe came when Elaine told the staff to bring out the wine, an expensive bottle Dad had been saving. Lauren looked straight at me as she swirled her glass. "To family," she said loudly. I lifted my glass too. Lauren added, softer but still audible. "Even the ones we ended up with." I saw Dad's jaw tighten. He didn't comment. Not tonight. And then the conversation turned toward the company. Dad's company was called Whitmore Freight and Compliance, and it had been the backbone of our family's wealth for decades. The company didn't just move cargo, it handled regulations, licensing, and contracts. The kind of work where one small paperwork issue can destroy everything. Lauren had never cared about it growing up. She was the creative one, always posting lifestyle photos floating between projects, claiming she was building a brand. But recently she started attending office events, asking questions, laughing too loudly with Dad's executive team, which meant she wasn't playing anymore. She was positioning herself. Elaine said, "Richard has been thinking about the future. About stability." Lauren nodded. "He should. We all should. Especially with changes." Elaine's hand rested on Dad's forearm in a way that looked supportive and felt possessive. "We're a family. We need to protect what we have." I kept my voice neutral. "I agree. That's why I've been helping with the compliance backlog. There are a few state renewals that were behind." Lauren blinked like she didn't know what I meant, then recovered with a smile. "Oh, right. You and your little spreadsheets." "They're not little," I said calmly. "They keep the company from getting fined." Dad finally spoke. "Claire's work has been excellent." The room shifted. A tiny silence. Elaine's smile tightened by 1 millimeter. Lauren's fork paused midair. Then Lauren leaned back and said, "Of course. Claire has always been desperate to prove she belongs." My heart didn't race. I didn't blush. I didn't give her the reaction she wanted. I just asked, "Belongs where?" Lauren's eyes glittered. She lifted her glass again. "Here. With us. With Dad. With the Whitmores." Elaine gave a delicate laugh. "Lauren." "What?" Lauren shrugged. "It's my sister's birthday. I'm being honest." Dad's gaze went hard. "Enough." Lauren pouted theatrically. "Fine." No honesty at the table. But the damage was done. The air felt thinner. My appetite disappeared. I could feel that Elaine had been waiting for this dinner for a reason. Then came dessert. They rolled out the cake, 3 tiers, pale frosting, gold lettering spelling out Claire like I was someone they knew. Everyone stood. Someone dimmed the lights. Candles flickered. I leaned forward to blow them out when Lauren suddenly clinked her spoon against her wine glass. "Wait," she said. "I have a special gift." The staff froze. Elaine's eyes sharpened. Dad looked irritated, like he'd been warned about this, but hoped it wouldn't happen anyway. Lauren reached under the table and pulled out a small white box. It wasn't wrapped. It looked like something you buy at a pharmacy. And she held it up like a trophy. A DNA test kit. The room gasped, half laughing because they couldn't believe she would, half nervous because they absolutely believed she would. Lauren smiled big, teeth gleaming. "Come on. It's funny. We've all wondered, right?" My face stayed still, but inside I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Elaine's voice was soft. "Lauren, that's inappropriate." Lauren turned to her like she was a child being scolded for telling the truth. "Oh my God, Mom. It's a joke. It's a birthday joke." Dad's face went pale with anger. "Put that away." Lauren didn't. She pointed the box toward me, eyes shining with cruelty. "Claire, you can finally know. Are you a Whitmore, or are you another man's mistake?" The sentence hit the room like a slap. I heard someone inhale sharply. I heard a chair scrape. I saw Dad's hands shake slightly where they rested on the table. And I realized something in that moment. Lauren wasn't doing this because she was bored or mean. She was doing it because she thought she could win something. I looked at Elaine. Elaine didn't look shocked. She looked prepared. That told me everything. So I smiled. Calmly. Like Lauren had handed me a bouquet instead of a blade. "You bought this for me?" I asked. Lauren grinned. "I did. I even made sure it's one of the faster ones. So we don't have to wait forever to find out what you are." "What I am," I repeated, still smiling. Lauren nodded, enjoying herself. "Exactly." I took the box from her slowly. I turned it over in my hands. I read the label like I was genuinely curious. And then I said, "You know what's funny? I already did one." Lauren's smile twitched. Elaine's eyes narrowed. Dad's head snapped toward me. "Claire?" I looked at him, gentle. "Not tonight," I said softly, borrowing his favorite phrase and turning it into a shield. "We're celebrating." Lauren laughed too loudly. "Sure you did. And I'm the Queen of England." I leaned closer to her, still calm. "You can be whatever you want tonight. You already are." Then I placed the DNA box on the table, right beside the cake. "Since you're so excited," I said, "we can all do it together. Dad, Elaine, Lauren. Family bonding." Lauren's laughter faltered. "No." Elaine cut in quickly, smiling. "Claire, don't be dramatic." There it was. Gaslighting delivered like a napkin. I tilted my head. "I'm not." Lauren brought it. "I'm just participating." Dad's voice was low. "Dangerous. Lauren, apologize. Now." Lauren's eyes darted to Elaine, like she was waiting for permission. Elaine touched Dad's arm. "Richard, it's her birthday too. Let's not ruin the evening." My father stared at his wife like he'd just remembered something he didn't want to admit. I watched them, still smiling, because in that moment, I understood the game. They wanted me to react. They wanted tears, anger, humiliation. They wanted me to look unstable, so they could say, "See? She's always been like this. She's emotional. She's not fit. She doesn't belong." So, I did the opposite. I stayed composed. And then I did something Lauren didn't expect. I pulled out my phone. Lauren stiffened. "What are you doing?" I unlocked my screen and tapped once, then turned it around so only she could see. A notification. A simple email alert with a subject line that made Lauren's face change. Her smile didn't just fade. It cracked, like glass under pressure. "Claire," she whispered, suddenly not performing anymore. "What is that?" I kept my voice soft. "Oh, that? It's the receipt." Lauren swallowed. "Receipt for what?" "For the DNA kit you just gave me," I said. "The one you bought yesterday." with Dad's company card. Silence dropped so hard it felt physical. Lauren's eyes widened. Elaine's head snapped toward her. Dad's gaze shifted, sharp and confused. Lauren tried to laugh again, but it sounded wrong this time. That's Claire, you're. I turned my phone slightly so Elaine could see the subject line too. Corporate card purchase confirmation. Elaine's mouth opened, but no words came out at first. Dad's voice was deadly calm. Lauren. Lauren's cheeks went blotchy. It's not what it looks like. I was going to pay it back. It was just a small. It's fraud, I said quietly, still polite. And I'm the compliance officer on record for card audits right now. So, it flagged. Dad pushed his chair back slowly. You used company funds for this? Lauren stared at Elaine like she expected rescue. Elaine finally spoke, too quickly. Richard, it's a misunderstanding. It was a family expense. A joke. A joke, Dad repeated, voice cold. Lauren grabbed the DNA kit like it could save her, like the plastic box was suddenly a life vest. It's my sister's birthday. I was trying to humiliate me. I finished gently. With company money. The room was frozen. Even the staff looked tense by the doorway. Then Dad exhaled through his nose and said, Everyone sit down. No one moved for a second. Then slowly we obeyed. Because when Richard Whitmore said something in that tone, it wasn't a request. It was a gavel. I sat too.
Calm.
Hands folded. Heart steady. Lauren stared at me like she didn't recognize me. That was the point. Dad didn't speak right away. He looked at the cake, at the candles still burning, at the DNA kit sitting there like a stain on the table. Then he looked directly at Elaine. Is this what we're doing now? He asked. Elaine's smile was delicate and panicked at the same time. Richard. Dad's eyes cut to Mr. Bennett, the attorney, because of course Elaine had invited him, by coincidence. He was sitting near the end of the table, like he'd just happened to stop by. Mr. Bennett cleared his throat. Richard, I wasn't. You were, Dad said. My stomach tightened. So, I was right. This wasn't a random humiliation.
It was staged.
Dad looked at me then, and for the first time in a long time, his eyes weren't tired. They were apologetic. Claire, he said quietly. After dinner, you and I need to talk. Alone. Elaine immediately said, Richard, whatever you need to discuss can be discussed as a family. Dad's gaze went ice cold.
No.
Lauren's voice was smaller now. Dad. He ignored her. I nodded once, keeping my voice steady. Okay. Dinner after that was ruined, but not in the way Lauren intended. She sat stiff, barely eating, while Elaine tried to recover control with forced small talk and fake laughter. I watched them, not with anger, but with focus. Because here's what you need to know about me. I don't win by screaming. I win by collecting information. And that dinner gave me more information than they realized. When Elaine thought no one was paying attention, she leaned toward Mr. Bennett and whispered, We have to move faster. When Lauren thought she could still embarrass me quietly, she hissed, You think you're clever, but you're still not one of us. And when my father finally stood and said, Claire, office. Now, Elaine's fingers tightened around her napkin like she wanted to tear it. I followed Dad down the hallway, past the family photos that always felt like evidence of a life I wasn't sure I was allowed to claim. Inside his office, he closed the door, locked it, and turned to me. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, They're trying to force my hand. My skin prickled. Force you to do what? Dad opened his desk drawer and pulled out a folder.
Thick.
Legal. Heavy. He placed it on the desk like it weighed more than paper. Elaine wants me to change my will, he said. And Lauren wants you out of the company, completely. Not just out of the business. Out of the family. My throat tightened.
How?
Dad's jaw clenched. They're pushing a story. A story they've been building for years. I forced myself to keep my voice calm. That I'm not your daughter. Dad's eyes flashed with pain. Yes. Silence filled the office. The ticking of the clock sounded louder. I swallowed. Is there any truth to it? Dad's face changed, hurt then anger.
No.
But truth doesn't matter when people are hungry. I nodded slowly. So, what are they doing? Besides humiliating me in public. Dad tapped the folder. They want you to sign something. They're going to frame it as cleaning up paperwork. They've been pressuring me to call a family meeting with the lawyer. My stomach sank. What kind of paperwork? Dad's voice dropped. Restructuring. Ownership. Voting rights. I stared at the folder, mind already running through possibilities. A company like ours had layers: shares, trusts, board voting power, signature authority. If I signed the wrong thing, I could lose everything: my position, my credibility, my ability to protect Dad's work. If they could make me look like I didn't belong, they could justify cutting me out. And if they could provoke me into reacting badly, they could paint me as unstable. I lifted my eyes to Dad. Why now? Dad's face hardened. Because my stroke scared them. Because they think I'm weak now. And because they think you're alone. I took a breath. I'm not. Dad nodded once. I know, but they don't. He slid the folder toward me. Read it. Not tonight. Take it home. Make copies. And Claire, he paused. His voice softened. I'm sorry I didn't stop this sooner. Something in my chest cracked, not from pain, but from relief. An apology in that house was rarer than diamonds. I forced a small smile. You can make it up to me by letting me handle it.
Dad studied me.
Handle it how? I leaned forward slightly, voice quiet and controlled. By letting them think they're winning. Dad's eyes narrowed, thoughtful. That's dangerous. So is letting them drive, I said. And they've been driving for years. Dad's mouth twitched, like he wanted to smile, but didn't know if he deserved to. He nodded once. All right. Then he added, and Claire about that DNA test. I reached into my purse and pulled out an envelope I'd been carrying for weeks. I told Lauren I already did one, I said, placing it on his desk. I wasn't bluffing. Dad's eyes widened. You did. I nodded. Not because I doubted Mom. Because I doubted what they'd do with the rumor. I wanted to be ready. Dad stared at the envelope like it was a weapon. You haven't opened it? He asked. No, I said. Not yet.
Why?
I looked at him honestly. Because if I opened it alone, it would only affect me. If I open it at the right time, it could protect you too. Dad went still. Then he nodded slowly, understanding the kind of daughter he'd raised, even when he wasn't paying attention.
He said, okay, keep it sealed.
For now. I stood, ready to leave. Dad added, one more thing. I looked back. His voice was low. Elaine has been having private meetings with someone from our insurance provider. My stomach turned. Why would she? Dad's eyes hardened. I don't know, but I don't like it. A cold feeling slid down my spine. Because money makes people greedy. But insurance meetings? That was a different kind of hunger. I nodded slowly. Then we moved carefully. Dad reached out and squeezed my hand once. Tight, brief, and sincere. When I walked back into the dining room, Elaine and Lauren both turned toward me at the exact same time. Elaine smiled sweetly. Everything okay, Claire? Lauren's eyes were sharp. Too sharp for someone who claimed it was just a joke. I smiled back, calm, polite, unreadable.
Perfect, I said.
Dad and I were just talking about paperwork. Elaine's face lit up like a switch flipped. Oh, good. We should schedule that family meeting soon then. Lauren's smile returned, shaky but determined.
Yeah, she said.
Let's get everything cleared up. I nodded once. Sure. Then I picked up my purse, said goodnight, and walked out of that house with my head high. But the moment I got into my car, my hands finally started shaking. Not because I was scared of Lauren's insult. Because I realized the insult was only the cover story. The real attack was coming through paperwork, signatures, and a rumor polished into a weapon. And the moment they thought they had enough proof to call me another man's mistake, they weren't just going to humiliate me. They were going to erase me. The next morning, I didn't wake up crying like they expected. I woke up planning. My apartment was quiet in that clean, lonely way. No footsteps in the hall. No forced breakfast chatter. No Elaine's helpful voice sliding into every corner of the day. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and laid everything out on my dining table like I was building a case. I had three priorities. 1. Protect my dad. 2. Protect the company. 3. Protect myself from being legally erased. And I had one advantage Lauren and Elaine consistently underestimated. I didn't need to be loud to be dangerous. I called Naomi Brooks first. Naomi was my closest friend from college, now a corporate forensic accountant who got paid to find lies inside numbers. She was the kind of woman who could scan a ledger the way other people scroll social media. She answered on the second ring. Claire, you okay? I'm okay, I said, which was technically true. I need you to look at something. Quietly. Naomi didn't ask why. She just said, send it. I forwarded her the corporate card receipt, and then, because I'd already pulled the last 60 days of transactions under my compliance access, I sent her the full expense log attached to Lauren's employee profile. Officially, Lauren was listed as Brand Partnerships Coordinator. Unofficially, she was Elaine's extension cord. Naomi replied within 10 minutes. This isn't a joke purchase. There are patterns.
Call me.
My stomach tightened. I called. Naomi's voice was sharp. Lauren's card activity isn't just messy. It's strategic. Strategic how? Small charges that look personal, Naomi said. Then bigger ones disguised as legitimate vendors. And Claire, there are multiple payments to a consulting group I can't find online. I grabbed a pen. Name? Hawthorne Advisory, Naomi said. But the registration details are thin. Almost like it's a shell. The air felt colder. Elaine mentioned questions. Dad mentioned she's meeting with someone from insurance. Naomi paused. Shell companies show up in two situations. Someone is laundering money, or someone is paying for something they don't want traceable. I stared at the window, watching a neighbor walk their dog like the world didn't have knives hidden in receipts. Okay, I said slowly. What else? There are also payments to a private medical lab, Naomi added. Not a hospital, a lab. My chest tightened. What kind of lab? I can't tell from the invoice description. It's coded. I swallowed hard. My father's stroke. Elaine's sudden care. Her obsession with stability. Her meetings with insurance. A quiet thought formed in my head, ugly and precise. What if they weren't just trying to erase me? What if they were trying to shorten Dad's timeline? I didn't say that thought out loud. Not yet. Thoughts like that need proof, not fear. Naomi, I said, voice steady, I need a lawyer who doesn't blink. Naomi snorted. I have one. His name is Ethan Cross. He's ruthless in a polite way. Like you. That line almost made me laugh, which scared me more than anything, because it meant I'd already shifted into survival mode. I met Ethan Cross that afternoon. His office was minimalist and calm, the kind of place where people sign documents that change their lives. He wasn't flashy, mid-30s, neat suit, clear eyes. He listened without interrupting while I laid out the birthday dinner, the DNA kit stunt, the corporate card receipts, the will pressure, the Shell Consulting Group, and the private lab invoices. When I finished, Ethan didn't give me sympathy. He gave me structure. Your father is the key holder, he said. If they want ownership and voting control, they need either his signature or proof that he's unfit, which would activate a power of attorney scenario. I blinked. Elaine has his medical paperwork. She manages his appointments. Ethan nodded like he'd expected that. Then you need 3 things immediately. I leaned forward. Tell me. 1, he said, holding up a finger. Confirm your legal status as his child. Not emotionally. Legally. Birth records, adoption records, if anything. We removed the rumor as a weapon. I nodded, heart steady. I have a sealed DNA test result. Ethan's eyes sharpened. Good. Keep it sealed until we choose the moment. But we also pull official documents. 2, he continued. Lock down your father's financial exposure. The shell company and lab invoices need to be traced and frozen if possible. Naomi had already started tracing.
I told Ethan that.
3, Ethan said, voice hardening slightly. We secure your father's capacity and intent. That means an independent medical evaluation chosen by you and him, not Elaine. and it means a recorded statement about his wishes. My stomach flipped. So, if they try to say he's confused. They can't, Ethan finished. Not if we have a clean timeline. I exhaled slowly. This was the first time in months I felt something close to safety. Then Ethan added, "And Claire, you mentioned insurance meetings." "Yes." Ethan leaned back. People don't arrange secret insurance meetings because they're bored. They do it because they're setting up risk. I nodded once. That's what I'm afraid of. He looked me dead in the eye. Then stop being afraid. Start being exact. That night, I called my father. He didn't pick up the first time. Or the second. On the third, he answered, breath slightly heavy. "Claire," he said. I was resting. "Dad," I said, keeping my voice calm, "I need you to do something for me. Tomorrow." Quietly. Silence. Then, "What is it?" "We meet an independent doctor. No Elaine. No Lauren. Just you, me." A pause. I could hear him thinking. "Is this because of the insurance?" he asked. My throat tightened. "Yes." Dad's voice went low. "I knew you'd connect the dots." I closed my eyes. "So it's not just me being paranoid." "No," he said. "Elaine has been asking odd questions. About beneficiaries. About what happens if something happens to me quickly. She pretends it's planning." My fingers curled around my phone. "Dad, have you signed anything recently? Anything she brought you?" He was quiet too long. "Dad," I pressed gently, "tell me the truth." "I signed one thing," he admitted. "A medical release form. So Elaine could coordinate care." My stomach dropped. "Do you have a copy?" "I don't," he said. "Elaine said it was standard." I forced myself to breathe. "Okay. We get a copy tomorrow. And you don't sign anything else. Not even a sticky note. You hear me?" Dad gave a short, tired laugh. "Yes, ma'am." "I'm serious." "I know," he said, and then his voice softened. "Claire, I should have protected you better." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Protect me now. Do what I ask." He was quiet then. "Tomorrow at 10. You pick me up from the office side entrance. I'll tell my assistant I'm in a meeting." "Good," I said. "And Dad, try not to act different at home." "I can do that," he said. "Elaine only sees what she expects." I stared at the ceiling after we hung up, my mind moving fast. Elaine only sees what she expects. Fine. I'd use that. The next day, I picked my dad up like it was any other weekday. He wore a navy blazer, looked calm, and gave the security guard a normal nod. But when he got into my car, he exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for months. "She's getting bolder," he said quietly. I kept my eyes on the road. "Then we get faster." The independent physician was Dr. Marissa Lane, a respected neurologist Ethan recommended. Her office wasn't glamorous. It was clean, professional, and most importantly, neutral. Dr. Lane ran cognitive testing, medication review, and a full consultation. Then she sat with us, hands folded, voice steady. "Richard is medically stable," she said. "His stroke effects are minor and not consistent with cognitive impairment. He is fully capable of making legal decisions." My chest loosened. Dad nodded, eyes glossy for a second. "Thank you." Dr. Lane glanced at me. "One more thing." I reviewed his medication list. My heart stuttered. "And there's a supplement listed here," Dr. Lane said. "It's not harmful by itself, but it can interact with his blood pressure medication." "Who added it?" Dad frowned.
"Elaine."
"She said it would help with energy." Dr. Lane's expression stayed professional, but her tone sharpened. "Stop taking it immediately. And I'd prefer his medication management to be handled by a clinician, not a family member." Cold spread through my limbs. Elaine didn't just want control. She wanted access. On the drive back, Dad stared out the window. "She insisted on that supplement," he said. "She got irritated when I forgot to take it." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Dad, when did the insurance meeting start?" 2 months ago, he said. "Right after you started cleaning up compliance." I felt my heartbeat in my throat. So this wasn't random. It was reactive. Like they saw me becoming a problem and decided to accelerate their plan. When we got back to the office, we didn't go inside immediately. In the car, I turned on my voice recorder and said, "Dad, I need you to say this clearly." He looked at me, understanding immediately. I asked, "Do you trust Elaine to handle your medical and legal decisions alone?" Dad's jaw tightened. "No. Are you being pressured to change your will or restructure ownership against your wishes?" "Yes," he said. "Elaine and Lauren have been pushing. I haven't agreed. Do you want Claire Whitmore, your daughter, to remain part of your legal family and company structure?" Dad turned to me then, eyes intense.
Yes.
"You're my daughter, and I'm not letting anyone rewrite that." I stopped the recording, hands shaking just a little. Not from fear this time. From clarity. Now we had a spine. Back at my apartment, the rock bottom feeling finally hit me fully because even though I was moving with logic, the emotional weight was brutal. I sat on my couch, staring at that sealed DNA envelope on my coffee table. A piece of paper shouldn't be able to control your whole life. And yet, in my family, it could. My phone buzzed. "Lauren." I didn't answer. Then Elaine texted, "Family meeting tomorrow at 4 p.m. with Mr. Bennett. Important paperwork for everyone. Don't be late." My stomach tightened. Ethan had warned me. The signature trap was here. I forwarded the text to Ethan and Naomi. Ethan replied instantly, "Do not attend alone. We go together. Bring your sealed DNA. Bring the recording. Stay calm. Let them talk first." Naomi added, "I found Hawthorne Advisory. It's registered under a different name. It links back to a guy named Victor Hale, insurance consultant." Victor Hale. So Elaine's private meetings weren't with the insurance provider directly. They were with a middleman who could make paperwork disappear. That night, I didn't sleep much. I didn't spiral either. I did what I always do when people try to corner me. I prepared for the room. I printed everything. Lauren's corporate card receipts, the shell company invoices, the coded lab payments, a timeline of Elaine's insurance activity, and Dr. Lane's written statement about my father's capacity and medication concerns. I made 3 copies of everything. One for Ethan. One for me. One for the moment the truth needed to exist outside our hands. At 3:45 the next day, I arrived at the Whitmore house. Not with tears. With a briefcase. Ethan walked beside me like he belonged there. Naomi wasn't with us physically. She preferred distance like a sniper, but she stayed on standby. Elaine opened the door with a smile that didn't reach her eyes.
"Claire."
"And who is this?" Ethan offered his hand politely. "Ethan Cross. Counsel for Ms. Whitmore." Elaine's smile froze. "Counsel?" Lauren appeared behind her, wearing a beige blazer like she was auditioning for a corporate takeover. Her eyes flicked to my briefcase. "Wow," Lauren said, voice dripping sweetness. "Someone's feeling important." I smiled calmly. "I'm feeling prepared." We entered the living room. Mr. Bennett stood near the fireplace, folder in hand. He looked uncomfortable. He wasn't evil. He was hired. My father sat in his usual chair. He looked tired, but his eyes were steady when he saw me. Elaine sat on the couch like a queen. Lauren perched beside her like a sharpened accessory. Elaine clapped her hands lightly. "Okay, let's begin. We're here because Richard wants stability, and because certain questions have been causing tension." Lauren sighed dramatically. "We can end the tension today." Mr. Bennett cleared his throat. "This is a proposed adjustment to the Whitmore Family Trust and to voting rights within the company." I kept my voice even. "Who proposed it?" Elaine smiled. "It's for the good of everyone." Ethan spoke calmly. "We'll review it." Lauren rolled her eyes. "It's simple. Claire signs and we all move on." My heart didn't race. That sentence told me everything. I looked at my dad. "Dad, do you want me to sign anything today?" Elaine answered for him. "Richard wants peace." My dad's gaze lifted, sharp. "I want the truth." Elaine's smile flickered. "Richard." He raised a hand. "Let Bennett speak." Mr. Bennett opened the folder and began explaining the restructuring, trying to sound neutral. As he talked, I listened for the hook, the trap word, the clause that would make me legally disappear. Then I heard it. And this portion specifies that only verified legal heirs may hold voting shares. There it was. Verified. I repeated softly. Lauren leaned forward, eyes shining. Exactly. Verified. And since you're so confident you're dad's, you should have no problem, right? Elaine sighed like she was the victim. Lauren, be kind. Lauren shrugged. I am being kind. I'm giving her a chance to prove it. Then Elaine turned to me, voice soft, poisonous. Claire, we love you. But this rumor has followed the family for years. It hurts the company's reputation. If you do a simple test, it ends. Gaslighting and reputation leverage, wrapped in a fake apology. Ethan's voice stayed calm. Any agreement contingent on personal DNA testing is coercive. Elaine's eyes narrowed. No one is coercing anyone. Lauren smiled. It's a birthday gift, remember? She can finally open her present. The nerve of her mentioning my birthday, like she hadn't tried to bury me under candles. I set my briefcase on the coffee table, clicked it open. The sound alone made the room shift. Before we talk about tests, I said quietly, I have questions of my own. Lauren laughed. Oh, here we go. I pulled out the corporate card receipts and placed them down. Lauren, I said, still polite, why did you use the company card to buy a DNA kit? Lauren's smile twitched. It was a joke, I finished. Using company funds. That's fraud. And it was flagged by compliance me. Elaine's face hardened. Claire, you're being dramatic. I didn't even look at her. I slid the shell company invoices forward. And why has Lauren's corporate profile been paying Hawthorne Advisory? I continued. A consulting group registered under an alias linked to an insurance consultant named Victor Hale? Elaine went still. Lauren blinked rapidly. I don't know what you're talking about. I nodded once. Okay. Then I placed down the private lab payments. And why has the company been paying a private medical lab under coded invoices? I said, while Elaine has been meeting privately with an insurance consultant. Mr. Bennett's face went pale. He looked at Dad, then at Elaine, then back at the papers like he wished the floor would swallow him. Elaine finally spoke, too sharp. This is outrageous. Claire, you're twisting. I lifted my hand, slightly, not to silence her, to pace the room. I'm not twisting anything, I said. I'm reading your fingerprints. Lauren stood up abruptly. You can't accuse us without proof. Ethan slid a document forward. Dr. Lane's statement. Here's proof your husband is cognitively competent, Ethan said evenly. And here's a medical note that Elaine introduced a supplement that interacts with his blood pressure medication. Elaine's eyes widened, then narrowed into something ugly. How dare you? I looked at my dad. Dad, tell them. Do you want this restructuring? My father sat up straighter. No, he said, voice firm. I don't. Elaine's mouth opened. Richard. He didn't let her. And I want to know why my company is paying a private lab and an insurance consultant through a shell group. Elaine's composure cracked. It's planning. It's for protection. For whose protection? Dad asked. Lauren's voice shot out, desperate. Dad, this is about Claire. She's manipulating you. There it was, reversing victim and perpetrator. Make me the threat. I didn't react. I didn't argue. I reached into my briefcase and pulled out the sealed DNA envelope. Lauren's eyes locked onto it like a predator. Finally, she breathed. I held it up, not opening it yet. You want verification? Fine. Elaine leaned forward slightly, controlling her expression. Good. End this. I looked at Mr. Bennett. Do you have a notary present? Mr. Bennett blinked. No. I do, Ethan said calmly. He nodded toward the doorway. A woman stepped in, Sandra Pike, professional, neutral, carrying a small notary case. She'd been waiting outside. Elaine's face went white. Lauren stammered, Why is there a notary? Because I'm not playing rumor games, I said softly. I'm making this official. I turned to my father. Dad, do you want this opened in front of everyone? With legal witnessing? He nodded. Yes. Elaine's voice shook, just slightly. This is unnecessary. I smiled, small and cold. No. What's unnecessary is you trying to erase me with paperwork. My fingers broke the seal. The room went silent. I pulled out the paper slowly, letting the moment stretch. Not for drama, because intelligent people understand timing. Timing is power. Lauren leaned forward, so far she almost fell off the couch. Elaine's hands clenched in her lap. Mr. Bennett looked like he might be sick. I unfolded the result and read it out loud, steady and clear. Probability of paternity, 99.99%. Richard Whitmore is the biological father. For a second, no one breathed. Then Lauren laughed once, sharp, disbelieving.
No.
That's fake. Elaine's face went blank in a way that was almost terrifying. My father exhaled like a man finally stepping out of a burning room. Thank you, he whispered, maybe to me, maybe to my mother's memory. Lauren stood, voice rising. That doesn't prove anything. Labs can be. Ethan held up a hand. The lab is accredited. The chain of custody is documented. And we have a notary witness. Sandra Pike nodded once, calm. I can confirm the documents were sealed and opened in my presence. Lauren's eyes darted wildly. Mom, Elaine's voice came out thin. Richard, we can discuss this privately. Dad's gaze turned lethal.
No.
We discuss it now. I didn't stop. I placed the recording device on the coffee table and pressed play. My father's voice filled the room, firm and undeniable. Elaine and Lauren have been pushing. I haven't agreed. Claire is my daughter. I'm not letting anyone rewrite that. Lauren's face drained of color. Elaine's lips parted, but nothing came out. I leaned forward slightly, voice quiet. So now the rumor is dead. And now we talk about your real plan. Elaine snapped, finally losing her polish. You don't know anything about my plan. I nodded. Then explained Hawthorne Advisory. Elaine's eyes flicked to Mr. Bennett, like she wanted him to intervene. But Mr. Bennett looked away. Dad's voice was low.
Elaine.
Who is Victor Hale? Elaine's throat bobbed. He's a consultant. For insurance, Dad said. Elaine hesitated. That hesitation was everything. I turned my laptop toward them. Naomi had sent me something right before I walked in. A PDF link, printed and verified. Hawthorne Advisory Registration Documents. Owner, Victor Hale. Address, a mailbox rental. Bank transfers, originating from Whitmore Freight corporate account. I placed it down. And here, I added, placing one more document on top, is the beneficiary update request you filed with the insurance provider. Elaine froze. Lauren's voice cracked. What is that? I watched Elaine's face slowly collapse into something raw. How do you have that? She whispered. I kept my voice calm. You use the company's legal email server to communicate with Victor. Compliance access means I see what touches our risk systems. You didn't think I'd look. Dad's voice sharpened.
Elaine.
What did you change? Elaine's eyes filled with sudden tears. Real this time, not decorative. I was trying to protect us, she cried. You were going to leave us with nothing. Dad stared at her like she was a stranger. You thought I would leave you with nothing? Lauren stepped forward, desperate. Dad, she means, be quiet, Dad said, and I'd never heard him say it like that to Lauren before. Elaine sobbed. You favor her. You always have. You call her capable. You praise her. You look at her like she's your real family. Dad's voice cut through the room. She is my family. Elaine flinched like he'd slapped her. Then Ethan spoke, cool and professional. The issue is not your feelings, Mrs. Whitmore. The issue is that you attempted to alter insurance beneficiaries and used company resources to do it, possibly alongside a shell entity, while managing Mr. Whitmore's medication without medical supervision. Lauren's voice shook. You're accusing her of... No, I said softly. I'm describing behavior. And behavior has consequences. Elaine's eyes turned wild. You think. You're so smart, Claire. You think you can trap me. I tilted my head. I didn't trap you. You walked into your own paperwork. Then I looked at Dad. Dad, what do you want to do now? My father sat very still for a long moment, breathing slow. Then he said something that made the room snap into a new reality. I want Elaine removed from any authority over my medical and legal decisions, he said. Effective immediately. Elaine's face twisted. Richard, you can't. I can, he said. And I am. He looked at Mr. Bennett. Bennett, draft the revocation. Today. Mr. Bennett swallowed hard. Yes, Richard. Lauren lunged toward Dad. Dad, please. He held up a hand. And I want Lauren's access to company accounts terminated. All of it. Lauren's eyes widened in horror.
No.
Dad. That's my job. Dad's voice was ice.
No.
It was your privilege. And you abused it. Lauren's mouth opened, then closed. She looked at Elaine, but Elaine was shaking, tears falling silently. Elaine whispered, We can fix this. I stood slowly, collecting my papers back into the briefcase, not rushing, not gloating. You can't fix what you built on a lie, I said quietly. Because you didn't just insult me. You tried to rewrite reality. Ethan stepped forward. There will be an internal investigation into the shell payments and medical lab invoices. Depending on findings, further action may be required. Elaine's face turned gray. You're going to ruin me. I looked at her honestly. You ruined yourself the moment you decided my existence was negotiable. Lauren suddenly snapped, voice sharp with panic. You don't get to win like this. You're still. She stopped. Because for the first time, she had no insult left that could land. The DNA had erased her favorite weapon. Dad's voice came quiet, tired. Get out. Elaine stared at him. Richard. Out, he repeated. Elaine stood slowly, like she couldn't believe gravity still worked. Lauren grabbed her arm, pulling her like a lifeline. As they moved toward the door, Elaine turned and looked at me with something that wasn't hatred anymore. It was fear, because she realized I wasn't just a daughter she could bully. I was a witness. After they left, the living room felt strangely silent, like a storm had passed, but the air was still charged. My father sat back, hand pressed briefly to his chest. I rushed to him. Dad, are you okay? He nodded. I'm okay. Just tired.
Drained. Betrayed.
Human. I sat beside him, my voice soft. We'll get through this. He looked at me then, and his eyes were wet. Your mother would be proud of you. I blinked hard. I hope so. Over the next few weeks, everything moved fast. The company launched an internal audit with Naomi's help. Hawthorne Advisory was exposed as a shell used to route payments for consulting that never existed. Victor Hale was real, too real, and he'd been paid to create a quiet pathway for insurance changes and questionable medical billing. Elaine didn't get arrested dramatically on the front lawn, or anything like that. Real life is colder. But she was removed from the trust's decision structure, her access to accounts was cut, and once the company's board saw the paper trail, they stopped treating her like the wife and started treating her like a liability. Lauren's downfall wasn't loud either. It was humiliating in a professional way. Her company badge stopped working. Her corporate email was shut off. She showed up at the office anyway, insisting it was a technical mistake, and security, Carl, a man who'd known me since I was a teenager, walked her out calmly while people watched. Not with cheers. With quiet, judging eyes. Because the worst punishment for someone like Lauren isn't being screamed at. It's being seen clearly. My dad updated his will with Ethan present, Dr. Lane's capacity statement attached, and Sandra Pike notarizing everything cleanly. No loopholes. No vague language. No verified error clause that could be twisted. He also added a new rule. Any future beneficiary changes required two-party verification, him and an independent counsel. When he told me that, I felt something unclench inside my chest that I didn't realize had been tight for years. And as for me, I didn't suddenly become warm with Elaine. I didn't forgive Lauren because she cried once. I didn't pretend the past was just misunderstanding. I did something more important. I drew a boundary and made it real. I moved my dad's medication management to a professional nurse coordinator. I arranged his appointments. I didn't do it because I needed control. I did it because trust had been broken, and you don't patch trust with hope. You patch it with systems. One afternoon, weeks later, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. It was Elaine. Claire, please. I need to talk. Richard won't answer me. Lauren is falling apart. You're smarter than this. Don't do this to us. I stared at the message, my hand steady. Then I replied with one sentence. I'm not doing anything to you. I'm letting consequences do their job. And I blocked the number. A month after the meeting, my father invited me to dinner, just the two of us, at a small Italian place near my apartment. No orchids. No staged laughter. No performance. He ate slowly like he was relearning what peace tasted like. Halfway through, he said, "You know what's funny?" "What?" "I thought the worst thing that could happen to me was losing my health," he said quietly. "But the worst thing was realizing I let people poison my home." My throat tightened. "You didn't know how far they'd go." He nodded. "But you did." I looked down at my plate. I didn't know. I suspected. There's a difference. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You were clever without being cruel. That matters." I exhaled slowly, letting myself feel proud without feeling guilty for it. Later that week, I got a call from Mr. Bennett. His voice sounded relieved. "Claire, I wanted you to know I've withdrawn from representing Elaine and Lauren. And I'm sorry. I didn't gloat. I just said, thank you for telling me. Because my life wasn't about collecting enemies. It was about stopping them from writing my story for me." The final consequence landed quietly but permanently. Elaine and Lauren were removed from the Whitmore Trust's future benefits beyond a limited settlement. Enough to live, not enough to control. It wasn't revenge. It was prevention. And Lauren's precious rumor, her favorite party trick, died in the exact place she used to feed it. At a charity gala 2 months later, someone approached me, smiling awkwardly. "You're Claire Whitmore," the woman said. "I heard there was some confusion about your—" I cut her off with a polite smile. There was never confusion. There was only a lie. The woman blinked, embarrassed.
Oh.
Sorry. I nodded, calm. "It's okay. Just don't carry it forward." That was the last time anyone tried to test my identity like it was entertainment. Because the truth wasn't just proven. It was defended. Now my life is simpler. I still work at Whitmore Freight and Compliance, but with clear authority and clear boundaries. I don't attend family meetings without counsel when paperwork is involved. I don't accept jokes that come with contracts. I don't sit at tables where my existence is treated like a debate. My dad is healthier now, not just medically but emotionally. He smiles more. He sleeps better. His house feels like a house again. And Elaine? Elaine moved into a smaller condo across town. She tells people she was pushed out by an ungrateful stepdaughter. She plays victim, of course. That's her favorite role. Lauren tried to rebuild her social image online for a while, posting quotes about betrayal and toxic family. But it never landed the same once people knew she used company money to humiliate someone at a birthday dinner. Some things don't wash off. Sometimes, I think about the moment Lauren called me another man's mistake. I used to wonder if words like that could permanently stain a person. Now I know the opposite is true. Words don't stain you when you have receipts. They stain the person who said them. From everything I went through, I learned that family isn't proven by who shouts the loudest. It's proven by who protects the truth when it's inconvenient. If you're in a situation like mine back then, please remember, you don't have to beg to belong anywhere that tries to turn your identity into a joke. If you've ever gone through something similar or you want to share your own story, write it in the comments below. Don't forget to share this story with your friends, like the video, and subscribe so you don't miss the next stories.